Stop right there. You're speaking, but nobody's listening. Your words vanish into thin air while others command the room with a single sentence. What if I told you that a Roman emperor who ruled 2,000 years ago already solved this exact problem you're facing today? Welcome back. Today, we're diving deep into something that Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the ancient world, mastered in the most hostile environment imaginable. And here's what's fascinating. He wasn't born with a commanding voice. He wasn't naturally charismatic. Actually, historical records tell us he was often ill, physically weak, and soft-spoken. Yet when Marcus Aurelius spoke, senators fell silent, generals obeyed, an entire empire listened. How? Through principles so powerful that they've survived 2 millennia, and I'm going to reveal exactly how you can use them starting today. But first, let me tell you something that might surprise you about respect and how you've been thinking about it all wrong. You know that feeling when you're in a meeting and you share an idea, but it's like you're invisible? Then someone else says almost the same thing 5 minutes later, and suddenly everyone thinks it's brilliant? Or when you're trying to set a boundary, but people just walk right over it like you never spoke at all. Here's the uncomfortable truth. It's not about what you say. It's about who you are when you're saying it. And this is exactly where most advice fails you. They tell you to speak louder, or be more confident, or use power poses. Surface-level garbage that Marcus Aurelius would have laughed at. Marcus faced something far worse than your dismissive coworker or that friend who never takes you seriously. He inherited an empire on the brink of collapse, barbarians at the gates, plague devastating his cities, generals plotting betrayals. And here's the thing, he couldn't just yell louder. He couldn't just demand respect. He was surrounded by men who could kill him, overthrow him, ignore him. So what did he do? He developed a system, a way of speaking that made people respect him, not because of his title, but despite it. And I'm going to reveal exactly how you can use it starting today. But first, let me tell you something that might surprise you about respect and how you've been thinking about it all wrong. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Simple words, but here's what he really meant, and this is where it connects to your life right now. Think about the last time someone dismissed what you said. Chances are, deep down, you didn't fully believe it yourself. Or you said it seeking approval. Or you said it because you thought you should, not because you actually meant it. Marcus is telling you something radical here. People can smell inauthenticity like sharks smell blood in water. In 170 CE, Marcus stood before his troops during the Marcomannic Wars. These were hardened soldiers who'd seen countless commanders. They didn't respect titles, they respected truth. And here's the modern parallel. Your coworkers, your friends, your family, they're the same. They've heard a million people talk. They've developed supernatural BS detectors. When Marcus spoke to his troops, he didn't promise easy victories. He didn't inflate his credentials. He said essentially, "This will be hard. Many of us won't return, but it's necessary." And they followed him into battle. Here's the first Stoic principle for commanding respect through your words. Speak only what you've examined in the forge of your own mind. Epictetus, the Stoic teacher who lived before Marcus, said, "First, learn the meaning of what you say, and then speak." This isn't about being careful with words, it's about being ruthless with your thoughts first. Let me give you a modern example. You're in a conversation, and someone says something controversial. Your instant reaction is to respond with whatever pops into your head, probably something you half remember from an article or something that sounds smart. Stop. That's why you're not respected. Here's what a Stoic does differently. They pause. Not an awkward pause, just a breath. In that breath, they ask themselves, is this true? Do I actually believe this? Have I tested this against reality? And if the answer is no, they either say nothing or they say, I don't know enough about that to have an opinion. And here's the magic. When you do this, when you filter everything through genuine examination, the quality of your words transforms. You might speak less, but when you do speak, every word carries weight because it's forged in truth. Now, I know what you're thinking, but if I pause and think, I'll lose the moment. The conversation will move on. Someone else will jump in. You're right. Sometimes the conversation will move on. But here's what you're missing. Those quick, unexamined responses you're so afraid of losing, they're exactly what's making people disrespect you. You're adding noise, not signal. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Stop arguing for your right to be heard. Start being worth listening to. The second principle: speak from inner stillness, not from reaction. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, wrote, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." But this applies to all emotional reactions, not just anger. Excitement, fear, defensiveness, the need to prove yourself, all of it. Think about the last time you felt disrespected. Someone interrupted you, or dismissed your idea, or talked over you. What did you do? Probably tried to speak louder, right? Repeated yourself with more emphasis, maybe got a little heated. That's you reacting. That's you letting them control your state. And here's the brutal truth. When you react, you've already lost. You've signaled that they have power over you. Marcus Aurelius dealt with senators who constantly tested him, trying to get reactions, trying to find weaknesses. One of his most famous quotes is, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Here's how this works in your life. Someone interrupts you in a meeting. Old you gets flustered, tries to talk over them, voice gets tense. Stoic you stops speaking immediately, maintains calm, waits. Then says, with complete composure, "I'd like to finish my thought." The difference? The first signals weakness. The second signals immovability. The first is a reaction. The second is a response from a place of inner authority. All right, remember when I said Marcus developed a system? Here it is. 3 questions he asked himself before speaking. Questions you can use right now. 1. Is this necessary? Marcus wrote, "Does what happened keep you from acting with justice, generosity, self-control, sanity, prudence, honesty, humility, straightforwardness?" If your words don't serve a purpose aligned with your values, don't speak them. 2. Is this true? Not, do I think it's true, or did I hear it somewhere? Is it actually verifiably true to the best of your knowledge? And 3, is this kind? Here's where most people misunderstand Stoicism. They think it's about being harsh and logical. Wrong. Marcus wrote, "Human beings exist for the sake of one another." If your words serve truth but destroy others unnecessarily, they're not stoic. They're just cruel. When you filter everything through these 3 questions, something shifts. You stop speaking to fill silence. You stop speaking to prove yourself. You start speaking only when it matters. Third principle: respect your listener's time more than you desire their approval. Marcus Aurelius has this incredible line, "Leave the wrong done by another where the wrong arose." But he also applied this principle to communication. Don't burden people with unnecessary words. Here's a modern disease. We over-explain because we're insecure. Someone asks you a question, and instead of giving a direct answer, you give them your entire thought process, your justifications, your credentials, everything. You're not being thorough, you're seeking validation. Watch someone who truly commands respect. They answer questions directly. Why did you make that decision? Because it was the right thing to do. Period. No essay, no defending, just clarity. But you're thinking, won't people think I'm being curt or rude if I'm too brief? Here's the distinction. Brief doesn't mean cold. Marcus was known for his warmth and empathy. Brief means honoring the intelligence of your listener. When you over-explain, you're implicitly saying, I don't think you're smart enough to understand unless I spell out every detail. That's actually disrespectful. Brief, clear, kind. That's the formula. Anything else is your insecurity talking. Now, I'm going to tell you something about Marcus Aurelius that completely changes how we understand Stoic communication. But first, you need to understand the fourth principle. Fourth principle: speak from character, not from strategy. This is where it gets deep. Marcus wrote, "Constantly regard the universe as one living being, having one substance and one soul." He's telling us something profound about authenticity. Here's what most communication advice does. It teaches you techniques. Use this tone, say these words, mirror their body language. All performance, all manipulation. And people feel it, even if they can't articulate it. The Stoic approach is the opposite. Don't learn to fake confidence. Become confident through virtuous action. Don't learn to sound authoritative. Become authoritative by living according to your principles. Don't learn to appear calm. Become calm by accepting what you cannot control. You want people to respect you when you set a boundary? Stop trying to say it the right way. Start living in a way where boundaries are natural expressions of your values. When you say no, it's not because you rehearsed how to say no. It's because your whole being is aligned with that no. Someone asks you to do something that violates your principles? You don't need confident body language. You don't need the perfect words. You just say, that doesn't work for me. And you mean it with every cell in your body. That's where respect comes from. All right, here's what I promised to tell you about Marcus Aurelius, something that changes everything. Marcus Aurelius never intended his meditations to be read by anyone. These weren't public speeches. These weren't carefully crafted arguments meant to persuade. These were his private journals, notes to himself, reminders about how to live. And here's the twist. The most respected words ever written about commanding respect were never written to command respect. They were written in complete, honest authenticity with no audience in mind. Do you see it? The moment you stop trying to be respected and start trying to be true, respect follows naturally. Marcus wasn't writing those words thinking, how can I make people respect me? He was writing, how can I be worth respecting? This is the shift. This is what changes everything. You've been approaching this backwards. You've been trying to learn what to say to get respect. But Stoicism teaches us, become someone worth respecting, and your words will naturally carry weight. Here's how this works practically. Starting today, every time you're about to speak, pause. In that pause, check in with yourself. Am I speaking from my center or am I reacting? Am I saying what needs to be said or am I saying what I think will make people like me? Am I being truthful or am I performing? And here's the beautiful part. When you catch yourself about to speak from reaction, from insecurity, from performance, you just stop. You choose differently. You either stay silent or you find the true thing to say.
Fifth and final principle. Your words are only as strong as your actions. Marcus Aurelius again. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. But also, do not think of what you do not have as though it were already yours. These seem like different ideas, but they're connected. Here's what he means. Your words have no power if your life doesn't back them up. You can't talk about discipline if your life is chaos. You can't talk about honesty if you cut corners. You can't talk about loyalty if you gossip about your friends. And here's the hardest part of this whole message, the part most people don't want to hear. If people don't respect your words, it might not be about your communication skills. It might be about your character. That's uncomfortable, I know. But the Stoics were all about uncomfortable truths. Epictetus said, "If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, 'He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone.'" The Stoics had no patience for self-deception. They looked at themselves with brutal honesty, and sometimes that meant admitting, "I'm not respected because I haven't become respectable yet." But maybe you're thinking, "I am a good person. I do live by my values. I just struggle with communication." Fair. Some people genuinely have the character, but struggle with the expression. If that's you, here's the key. Stop trying so hard. Your struggle with communication probably comes from overthinking, not underdeveloping. Marcus wrote, "You have been formed of 3 parts, body, breath, and mind. The first 2 are yours only insofar as you must care for them, but only the third is truly yours." Stop worrying about how you sound. Stop crafting the perfect sentence in your head. Access your mind, your true self, and speak from there directly, like a clear spring, not a constructed fountain. All right, here's what I want you to do. Not tomorrow, right now, today. Think of the next conversation where you typically feel disrespected or dismissed. Maybe it's a meeting. Maybe it's with a certain family member. Maybe it's a social situation. Before that conversation, I want you to do what Marcus Aurelius did every morning. He prepared himself mentally. He would think, "Today I will meet meddling, ungrateful, violent, treacherous, envious, and unsociable people." But here's the crucial part. He didn't prepare what to say to these people, he prepared who to be around them. He reminded himself, "None of them can implicate me in anything shameful. I cannot be angry with someone who shares my nature." He centered himself in his principles. So here's your practice. Before that difficult conversation, spend 3 minutes in silence, not planning what to say, just connecting with your values. Ask yourself, who do I want to be in this conversation? What principles do I want to embody? Then go into that conversation and speak only when your words align with that. You'll be amazed at what happens. You might speak half as much as usual, but what you do say will hit completely differently. Let me leave you with one more quote from Marcus that brings this all together. "The object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane." Most people speak to be liked, to fit in, to avoid conflict, to seek approval. Marcus is telling you that's insanity. The object is truth, virtue, alignment with nature. When you speak from that place, majority opinion becomes irrelevant. And paradoxically, that's when people start to listen. Respect isn't given to people who seek it. Respect is given to people who've transcended needing it. Here's the ultimate lesson, the thing that Marcus Aurelius understood that we've forgotten in our modern world of personal branding and social media performance. You don't need to be heard by everyone. You need to be true to the voice within yourself. And when you are, the right people will hear you. Not because you've mastered communication techniques, but because you've mastered yourself. Most people go through life feeling invisible because they're too busy trying to be seen. They speak words they don't mean. They adopt personalities that aren't theirs. They're performing respectability instead of living respectably. The Stoic way is different. You wake up each day and ask, "What does virtue require of me today?" You live according to that answer. You speak only what serves that purpose. You let go of everything else. And slowly, gradually, you become someone who doesn't need to command respect because respect flows towards you naturally, like water towards the lowest point. Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man in the world. He could have demanded anything, but he chose to live by principles. He chose to speak only truth. He chose to value his own good opinion over everyone else's. And 2,000 years later, we're still listening to his words. Not because he tried to make us listen, but because he became worth listening to. That's your path forward. Not learning to speak better, but learning to be better. Becoming someone whose words matter because their life matters. Someone who doesn't chase respect, but earns it through the steady accumulation of virtuous action and honest speech. Start today. Speak less, mean more. Filter everything through truth, necessity, and kindness. Live in a way that makes your words inevitable expressions of your character. And watch what happens. If this resonated with you, if you're ready to stop seeking respect and start earning it the Stoic way, hit that subscribe button. We're building a community of people who value truth over performance, character over charisma, substance over style. And remember, Marcus Aurelius's final gift to us. Soon, you will have forgotten everything. Soon, everyone will have forgotten you. So stop worrying about being remembered and start focusing on living well, right now, in this moment, according to your principles. That's how you command respect, not through your voice, but through your life. I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong.